Okay, hi everyone. Today I will show you how I process tools, notebooks, Python notebooks from my process tools can be used to analyze results of Monte Carlo simulations related to a study of the impact of neutron capture reaction rate uncertainties on the predicted elemental and isotopic abundances for the I process. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. Okay, so now this is the main README file that explains this the content of iProcess tools files and notebooks. So you're already familiar with this README file. So we discussed all these points. So now let me scroll down to this section about notebooks. And today I'm going to talk about actually the last three Python notebooks here. So this last notebook, MC1 Zone Analysis Outreach, it is used to analyze results of Monte Carlo simulations. I will show you how it works. So this notebook plot strontium, yttrium, zirconium outreach. So here strontium, yttrium, zirconium is just historic leftover. So you can here use, of course, other elemental abundances. And this notebook actually, as it says, it reads results of Monte Carlo reaction rate uncertainty run and uses them to prepare a pickle file that will contain data for plotting uncertainty contour lines. I will show you how it works. And this thread from the bottom notebook actually makes this plots with contour lines. Okay, so I'm going to start with this notebook, plot strontium, yttrium, zirconium outreach. And first I will show you how to prepare the contour lines using results of your Monte Carlo reaction rate simulations. Okay, so now let me go here. So this is my main run directory on the AstroHub Outreach web server with the name Pavel. And as you can see here, I have a bunch of directories with results of my Monte Carlo simulations. So they are not relevant for our discussion today, most of them, except this one. So I'm going to show you how the notebooks analyzing Monte Carlo results work using this data, one zone Monte Carlo simulations results, using this method and const xi for the neutron density 3.16 10 to the 13, using all data, remember, means 1256 unstable isotopes. Okay, and low of E means low iron abundance. Low iron abundance is appropriate for studying I process, relevant for CMP I stars. So low iron, high iron. So let's not talk about this. I'm going to use this directory. So all these directories, including this one, were filled with results using this Monte Carlo run directory, MC multithread sim and const xi data. I explained that to you the last time. So let me just go to this Monte Carlo simulation run results directory. Okay, this one, and just show you its contents. Okay, so here, as you can see, there are 1,000 files with the final mass fractions abundances. Okay, and this file p_ini.dat, it just reminds what initial chemical composition was used. If I just show its content, you can see here there are three abundances, but let's just have a look at the iron abundance. So iron 56 has very low abundance, therefore this here suffix in the name of the file, low iron, low Fe, low iron, because here I used iron abundance appropriate for the low metallicity of CMP istars, okay? So now I'm going to use, as I said, results from this directory. And let's start with this notebook plot strontium, yttrium, zirconium outreach, okay? This one. Okay. Okay, so as title of this notebook says, this notebook can be used to prepare and save in a pickle file data for plotting elemental abundance ratio from one zone Monte Carlo simulations as contour lines on outreach cell. Okay, let's let's execute this its cells. So in your notebook, of course, as in a lot of notebooks, you will have to use here appropriate name for your work directory. In my case, this is file, my main work directory. Everything else should work. If some cells of the notebooks report an error, what you should do in the first place to check if the file names and the paths to directories are correct, and if the file that is asked to be used in the cell is available, if this file exists in your run directory. Okay. Otherwise, everything should work, I hope. Okay, so almost automatically. So here, as you can see, we read solar abundances of Aspen 2009. Okay. So there are comments and titles to cells, so you can read them. So now the next cell, this cell, will read in the final surface abundances from all of 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations, including the template one. So the template simulation has a number 0, and it was done using a default reaction rates from Euclid codes. In other 1,000 simulations, Monte Carlo simulations, rates of 1,256 reactions were randomly varied within the specified maximum variation factors, as I explained to you last time. If you forgot that, you can just watch the video of the last lecture. Okay, and all cells like this one that read results of Monte Carlo simulations, the execution usually takes some time, depending on the number of Monte Carlo simulations. For 1,000 recommended value just for learning and testing purposes. So the execution time should be a few minutes. For 10,000 simulations, execution time can be up to half an hour. So let's just execute the cell that will read. Yeah, as you can see here, I provide the name of the directory with my Monte Carlo simulation results, and this is that directory that I showed you. Density, neutron density 3.16 10^13, and for low iron abundance. Okay, let's just, yeah. So now we have to wait a few minutes. So until this black circle in the top right corner will turn off. Okay. Okay, while this cell is still being executed, let me switch to the notebook that does a detailed analysis of Monte Carlo results, this one, okay? Let me just point your attention at the beginning of this notebook here. This notebook is named MC1 Zone Analysis, okay? Don't forget to use notebooks with the suffix outreach, okay? In this notebook, these three references, these are three references to our published papers where this method that we use in our Monte Carlo simulations and the analysis, the method of analysis are described. So therefore, you can just click here, and you will open this papers here, these three papers. So let's have a look. Yeah, no, it's still reading. Okay. Yeah, of course, the execution time depends on the load of the server. If, for instance, accidentally several of you are doing Monte Carlo runs at the same time on the server, of course, the execution time can be long. So now the execution of the cell is complete. Okay, so therefore let's go to the next cell. In the next cell, we select 4 elements for our double elemental abundance ratio plot. In this case, I will select the second. I will make the second choice for the diagram barium to lanthanum versus barium to europium. Okay. Let's make a plot. Okay. So now this plot, as you can see, it shows this double elemental abundance ratio diagram. X-axis barium to lanthanum ratio versus barium to europium ratio. So the red cross shows this elemental abundance ratios for the template run, which means with default rate, while all these dots show scatter of predicted elemental abundance ratio for 1000 Monte Carlo simulations that used different Newton capture rates for 1256 Newton capture reactions. Okay, so next cell will generate contour lines. Okay, so this is the same plot, but instead of just individual points, here we have contour lines. So this is actually probability distribution functions, or we call them mountains, like on a map. So you can see this light green contour has a probability 90%. So this means that 90% of this point allocated inside this region, 90%, etc., 60% and up to 20%. Okay, and now we need to save these contour lines in a pickle file. This is done in the last cell here. Okay, now we save them, and now we can use this pickle file to plot these contour lines in other notebooks. And let me go to plot GINA base pickle notebook that compares observed elemental abundance ratio with predicted ones. Okay, you're already familiar with this notebook. I showed it to you earlier. Okay, so here I also select this elemental abundance ratio barium to lanthanum versus barium to europium. Okay, so these are observational data in this diagram for GINA base CMP-I and CMP-S stars from the Genabase website. Okay, and now we can add here in the next cell the contour lines that we prepared, as it's explained here, with this notebook plot strontium with zirconium. We've already done this. Excuse me. You have to only to check that here the right name of the pickle file is used. So the name of the pickle file is just the name of the directory with Monte Carlo simulation results .pkl. So this is what was created here, right? This file with the name of our Monte Carlo results directory. So now this cell actually adds. You can see now we overplot the contour lines to observational data, and we see that CMP I stars, orange triangles, they are well inside these contour lines, but there are also some CMPS stars here. Okay, and of course, I mean, not of course, but in principle, as I will show you later, in principle, we can explain some of the CMPS stars as also CMP I stars moving towards this region. Okay. Okay. So now we can add to this plot or make the other plot with snake curve. You're already familiar with this. So this is just a snake plot, right? Okay. In comparison with observational data. Okay. Okay. So now let's go to the main notebook that does detailed analysis results of Monte Carlo simulations. It's called, as README file explains here. So this notebook is called MC One Zone Analysis Outreach. Okay, it's open here. Okay. So now some cells that just read solar chemical composition, and this cell reads results from the directory that contains results of Monte Carlo simulations. This is check that you use the right name here again. This neutron density 3.1613, low iron. But of course, you can use a different name. It's up to you. This is just my choice of the name. Again, this cell, as the comment explains here, its execution can take about 20-30 minutes if the number of Monte Carlo simulation runs is 10,000, or it can take a few minutes, in our case, for 1,000. Actually, I have already executed this cell, and here it produces plots of Monte Carlo abundances, so therefore I'm going to start from this cell. Okay. Now I'm prepared to make a plot of elemental abundances using the pinning method, okay, which is described in appendix to this paper, so please read also comments in the cells. Okay. Here there is a shift, parameter shift, which will shift predicted abundance distribution relative to observed abundance distribution. This is necessary to do because one-zone simulations they produce the right distribution of abundances, but not the absolute values. So therefore, we have to shift them vertically along the y-axis if we want to say to check if they fit the observed abundances. And this shift parameter has to be adjusted. So if you will see that the fit is not good, you can change this parameter back here in this cell, and then make a plot once again below. So here, yeah, I have the right choice of the shift for this neutron density and for this. Okay. Okay, so now I select for comparison with the predicted abundances one of the CMP stars of this directory. It's called Kim's stars because Professor Kim Wen at our department has prepared abundances for the CMP stars, so these are not GINA-based stars. She is a stellar spectroscopist, Kim Wen, and she changed abundances of some stars. Yeah, so she had some motivation for this. I mean, yeah. So this is the list of CMPI abundances from Kim Wen's list, from Kim's stars. Here we select the range of proton number between minimum electric charge 55, this is just before barium, and maximum 72 for the plot. Okay. 82 maximum number corresponds to lead. Okay. And now we select a star from this above list. So our favorite star is number 13, this one, CS31062 minus 050. It's our favorite star because it has a largest set of abundances available. Okay, and the abundances themselves are very high, which is signature that I process had probably reached its equilibrium state as okay. So I select this star. This is abundances in this star. So you can see this the same this star. It's metallicity iron to hydrogen ratio. So in square brackets, this is logarithmic with respect to solar minus 2.41. There are 16 elemental abundances from barium here. So there are more abundances, but remember we limited the range of proton number from 55 to 72. So therefore, from barium to element with proton number 72. I don't remember. Okay, now check that these two numbers are the same. Okay, this is just a test. Okay, and now let's make the plot. Okay. So as you can see here, this black circles with arrow bars are observed abundances in this CMP RS star, CS31L62 minus 050. And the orange line, solid orange line, are predicted, is a predicted abundance distribution for the neutron density 3.6 in 10 to the 13 with default rate. So this is from our template run with number 0. And this orange band, it gives the spread of these elemental abundances caused by uncertainties of the neutron capture reactions, because neutron capture reactions of unstable isotopes that participate in the I process that have an effect on this predicted abundances. Okay. Yes, you can see. Okay. The uncertainties are quite large. Okay. So now let's make a plot of mass fractions. So these are some preliminary plots, just to be sure that we have some reasonable data. Okay. So now here we read in the final decayed isotopic abundances from all of the zone MC runs. So our PPN runs, one zone runs, both individual and Monte Carlo runs, they produce predicted mass fractions for isotopes and for elements. Okay, so therefore here we separately read elemental abundances. We've already done this in the previous cell, and we also read isotopic abundances. All abundances are decayed. Remember, in our Monte Carlo runs, we have we had to provide the so-called decay time. I used 1 billion years, so that at the end of calculations, all unstable isotopes produced were given this decay time to decay along isobars, lines of constant atomic mass, toward the value of stability, to the stable isotopes. Okay, so therefore here we read final decay isotopic abundance from all Monte Carlo runs. So this cell is usually executed faster than the cell for elemental abundances, because in the cell with elemental abundances, isotopic abundances for the same element have to be summed up. This takes some time, so it's done already. Now we save isotopic abundances like we did with elemental abundances in a pickle file, so that they can be used later. Later we don't have to read them and wait some time. Okay, so just save them. And here I read both elemental and isotopic abundances from a pickle file. So if such pickle file already exists, then I don't have to execute the previous cells where I read those abundances. I can go directly here, and then it's much faster. Pickle file. So now we have read everything, not everything, but we have read elemental and isotopic abundances, and there are here some functions that are illustrated in the next cell. For instance, in this cell, we can get information about any element. So here, barium, lanthanum, and europium. So as you can see, elements barium, number, this proton number 56, abundances. For each element, there are 2 abundances. Template 1 calculated using default rates, and the solar abundance for the same element. Okay? Barium, lanthanum, europium, and also what's calculated here, barium to lanthanum, lanthanum to europium ratios. Okay. So now let's execute next cell. So next cell here gives information about isotopes. So here we had elements, and here information about individual isotopes. For instance, you can change the name here, but please use the right both capital letters for isotopes, and for elements only the first letter is capital. So please pay attention to using the letter case. Okay. Okay. So now here we have cesium 133. This is its number in the list of isotopes, 20,620, and this is its template abundance template for default rates. Okay. Okay. Now, in order to do analysis of Monte Carlo results, we need not only elemental and isotopic abundances, but also we need to read in the maximum reaction rate variation factors that we used in our calculations, as well as individual reaction rate multiplication factors. Okay, because then later below we will compare multiplication factors with predicted abundances to reveal some correlations and anti-correlations between predicted abundances and multiplication factors for neutron capture reaction rates. By doing this, we can find neutron capture reactions that have the strongest impact on the predicted abundance of a given element or isotope, right? So therefore, here in the next 2 cells, we read data for reaction rate variations. First, the maximum reaction rate variation factors here. Okay. And just for test, you can compare. This is the maximum rate variation factor for lead 240 and for cobalt. So if I go back to my all network setup directory, right? Or yeah, if I go here in my Monte Carlo runs directory list, so here there are reaction factors, remember, okay. This is a list of 1256 unstable isotopes with their maximum variation factors. For cobalt-60, maximum variation factor between the maximum computed rate and the minimum computed rate, 693. And this is just a test showing that we have read all maximum variation factors correctly, 693, and this is for lead. And now we did in the next cell individual multiplication factors for 1256 rates that were used in our Monte Carlo 1000 Monte Carlo runs. They were chosen randomly, as explained in the papers referenced at the top of this notebook. You can have a look at the papers. Just read this data. It takes some time. Yeah, it's done. Okay. So just check for consistencies and check. You can ignore it. And this is also consistency, just to be sure, check that these two numbers are the same. This is the same as this one, and this is the same as this one. Okay. Now information about isotopes included in the reaction factor list. So this is, as you can see, 1256 unstable isotopes from the list that I showed you before. Okay. And now we have read in all data we need for analysis. And now we begin the detailed analysis of the results of our Monte Carlo calculations. This here, the first cell that does this analysis, it makes the so-called 4-panel plot of correlations for 4 selected elements from you can select elements by selecting this number I4. Okay, because this is 4-panel plot, we can plot simultaneously only 4 elements, and you can see these are just proton numbers of the elements starting from 27 going up to 74, and these comments help you to make your choice. For instance, I4 equals 7. 7 means the plot for panel plot will include barium and lanthanum. So let's make this plot. Okay. Okay, so this is what we call a 4-panel plot. What it shows, let's have a look, for instance, for this bottom left plot for lanthanum. Okay. First, it shows for what element that this panel is made for lanthanum. Okay. Then it shows along the x-axis. Along the x-axis, we have the reaction index. So this is just a number of reaction in the list of reactions. So we have 1256 reactions on unstable isotopes. So this is just a number of reactions, or this is what reaction index. And on the horizontal vertical axis, we have Pearson correlation coefficient between the predicted abundance of elemental abundance, in this case of lanthanum, and reaction rate, neutral capture reaction rate multiplication factor. And the solid black line, where most data points are, has correlation coefficient 0, which means these reactions don't have any impact on the predicted lanthanum abundances because correlation coefficient is close to 0. So these two dashed lines, they show the minimum correlation coefficient that we ignore. It's just a parameter here, okay? It can be specified here, R minimum 0.15, the minimum value for the correlation coefficient. And that's shown here. So by choosing 0.15, we say that correlation coefficient here below 0.15, we just assume there are no correlations. And finally, these 2 points here, this one and this one, which are outside of these dashed lines, they show reactions with correlation coefficient above 0.15 by absolute magnitude, because here it's negative, here it's positive. Okay, and for these reactions, the corresponding unstable isotopes that capture neutrons are shown here in the order of increasing reaction index. So therefore, this means this orange circle corresponds to the reactions cesium-139 and gamma, and correlation coefficient is relatively small. It's still close to 0.15, negative, but absolutely close to 0.15. But for barium-139 and gamma, the correlation coefficient is relatively high. It's close to 0.8 here. So therefore, we can say, just by looking at this panel, that the uncertainty of the reaction barium-139 and gamma has a strong impact on the predicted abundance of lanthanum, because we see here a very high correlation coefficient. The correlation is negative, which means if we increase this reaction barium-139 and gamma, if we increase this rate, the rate is still uncertain, because there are no experimental data yet. Now there are some experimental data, but before there were no experimental data. A negative correlation coefficient means that if we increase this neutron capture rate, barium-139 and gamma, then lanthanum abundance will be reduced. That's what negative means. Okay? And similar is true for other elements. For instance, for barium, the strongest correlation negative is this one. This is 1 to the second one, which is cesium-137. Okay, this is cesium-137 and gamma. To help to understand these plots are followed up just by a table here, which shows correlation coefficient for these 4 elements. Now again, if I go to lanthanum here, it shows that lanthanum correlates with barium-139 and gamma with correlation coefficient minus 0.79. Okay, this is what we figure out from this plot. And barium has the strongest negative correlation with cesium-137 minus 0.055. Okay, so I think this is the most important cell. Because if I go now back to one of these papers, actually to this paper, the third one, if I click it, okay, if I open this paper, and you can have you can have a look at this paper later, of course, okay. Okay, so I have opened this paper, and if I scroll, so now I scroll to table 2, and table 2 provides correlation coefficients between reactions on these unstable isotopes and predicted elemental balance ratio. Now you can see that we have here lanthanum correlates, has the strongest negative correlation of barium-139, and correlation coefficient is minus 0.86. Okay, so therefore the data in this table were obtained using actually plots and data similar to those I showed you here. Okay, some difference between correlation coefficients here and in the table are caused by the fact that we used a different computational method, one-zone method, but correlation coefficients are still very similar. Okay? So now let's go down. So now here, look, when I look at this panel here for lanthanum, and I find that barium-139 and gamma has the strongest impact, and this finding is confirmed by this data. For lanthanum, this is barium-139 with correlation coefficient minus 0.8 approximately, right? Then it makes sense to make a plot of histogram of the distribution of predicted of the barium of the lanthanum abundances, elemental abundance predicted in now 1,000 or 10,000 Monte Carlo simulations, right? And have a look at it. So this is done with the next cells. First, we select bins. So these two cells, of course, they don't work automatically. Fine for any case. You have to adjust, tune up some parameters to tune up choice of bins and limits for the x and y axis. So in this template notebook that has already been done. So now I'm going to make a plot of the ratio of the elemental abundance of barium to lanthanum. Yeah, okay, a histogram. Okay. So as you can see, this is a distribution, a histogram of the predicted abundance of barium to lanthanum ratio. Okay. So horizontal axis gives a range of predicted abundances, and the vertical axis gives the number of Monte Carlo runs out of okay, here it's out of 10,000. Of course, now we have 1,000. This can be, of course, corrected out of 1,000. Okay. So, and the vertical dashed line corresponds to the template abundance ratio, elemental abundance ratio template. Okay. So as you can see in our Monte Carlo simulations, we get values to the left and to the right from multiplied values. Okay, and sometimes, especially when the correlation coefficient is has a very large absolute magnitude, like in this case, 0.8, we expect that there will be a bifurcation of the histogram. Here we see the so-called double peaked distributions. This is the first peak and this is the second peak. Okay, this actually means why we call it bifurcation, because because this means that uncertainty of in this case the reaction of barium-139 and gamma bifurcates the I process path to different directions at some point. This is not here. We talk here about lanthanum, so I have to go here, lanthanum, okay, and for lanthanum it's barium-139, this element, barium-139. So variation of its neutron capture reaction rates bifurcates the I process path inside this band. Okay, and in the next cell we can check that this is in fact this bifurcation is caused in fact by barium-139. For this we make the same plot, the same histogram, but we check the reaction barium-139. Like this. So, and indeed, as you can see here, we have, what's important that the next cell, the second cell, it actually divides, let's explain here, all 1,000 Monte Carlo runs have now been divided into two groups, approximately equal groups. approximately 500 and 500. In one of these groups, or sample subsamples, we make a plot of for only we make a plot for the case when multiplication factors for, in this case, barium 139 and gamma rays are all smaller than 1. And in the second group, multiplication factors for this rate, barium 139 and gamma, are all larger than 1. And this reveals this bifurcation, because I don't remember exactly which color corresponds. Yeah, but we know, because bifurcation is negative. This means that when we increase this rate, the lanthanum goes down. Okay, so I have just to check in the paper. So blue and yellow histograms correspond to rate multiplication factors above 1, so blue above 1 and yellow below 1. So yellow below 1 and blue above 1 multiplication rate for reaction barium 139. Okay. So when we reveal such bifurcation and we find the reaction, neutron capture reaction, in this case barium 139, that causes this bifurcation, then we can say, ask our colleagues, experimental physicists, to try to measure or constrain the rate of this neutron capture reaction, right? And that work actually has already been done. And it turns out that the rate of this reaction is higher than our default rate, which means that we higher rate means lanthanum becomes smaller and barium to lanthanum ratio becomes larger. So moves in the right direction. Okay. Okay. So now this is, I think, fun analysis. So now we can do a similar analysis also for isotopic rate, for isotopes, not only for elements. Okay. So this is a histogram of the distribution of Monte Carlo runs for the isotope zirconium-96. Okay. Now next cell makes a similar 4-panel plot, but not for elements, but instead for isotopes. So in this case, you can see 4 isotopes of zirconium: zirconium 90, 91, 92, 94. It is, I have to say that stellar spectroscopy usually measures in stars only elemental abundances. Okay, so for the previous analysis was related to stellar spectroscopy, like barium to lanthanum elemental abundance ratio or some other elemental abundance ratio. But some data about eye process in stars can also be found in the so-called free solar dust grains, in which this is actually meteorite grains, in which detailed isotopic abundances can be measured. And it has already been found that in some grains there are isotopic signatures of eye process. Okay, so therefore it makes sense also to do analysis of isotopic abundance ratio. And this cell does this analysis, for instance, as an example for zirconium isotopes. A similar 4-panel plot, but now, as you can see, not for elements, but for isotopes. For instance, for zirconium 90, the strongest impact is produced by the reaction strontium 90 and gamma. Okay, and here correlation coefficient is its absolute magnitude is relatively large, approximately 0.75, as you can see. Similar to elements, we can do additional analysis. We can, for instance, first information about zirconium. Now, like we did before for elements, first we produce bins for histogram, and then we search for reaction that has the strongest impact on the predicted isotopic abundances. Okay. So this is a histogram for zirconium-90, and we can anticipate that this bifurcation or the spread of zirconium-90 abundance is probably caused by the uncertainty of reaction strontium-90 and gamma, right? As revealed here. Yeah, and also there are data that confirm that here, zirconium-90, strontium-90 and gamma has correlation coefficient minus 0.77. So therefore, let's have a look for if the bifurcation and the distribution of zirconium-90 is produced by the uncertainty reaction strontium-90 and gamma. Yeah. So the next cell you can specify reaction like we did before for elements, in this case strontium-90. And similarly, the entire Monte Carlo 1000 sample is divided into two subsamples, approximately 500 to 500, with multiplication factors that are all either above 1 or below 1. You can see here it's divided into subcells 475, 523. Okay, it's just statistical difference. And indeed, as you can see here, again, we see that this bifurcation was caused by uncertainty of the reaction strontium-90. Okay, so now let's go further on. So now, so the next cell just check as a test that the distribution of multiplication factor, random multiplication factor, that we used in our Monte Carlo simulations is actually random. Okay, so this is for barium-139 and gamma, and this is distribution, so linear distribution of factors that are all above 1. So that's approximately, random distribution. Of course, these fluctuations are caused just by the small number of Monte Carlo runs, because here, for learning, for testing purposes, we use only 1,000. Usually, for publications and in real research, we use 10,000 runs, but I told you, please restrict yourself to 1,000 until we will come to a real research project. Okay, maybe in January we'll start to do a real research project. So, so the next cell produces a similar plot, but for multiplication factors that are all smaller than 1 linear, and the next for all multiplication factors, but in this case logarithmic scale for multiplication factor. And you can see distribution of logarithmic factors is not uniform, but this is how it should look like, okay, from statistical point of view. Okay. So this is just a cell that defines the Pearson correlation coefficient. So here you can see how it's calculated, but in the next cells I use here, as you can see here, Pearson correlation coefficient from Python statistics package. Okay, so therefore you can use either this one or this one. Okay, and now we calculate correlation coefficients. In this case, for isotope zirconium-90, and again we find that strontium-90 and gamma is the strongest correlation coefficient, negative by absolute magnitude. Choose stable isotope plot. Okay, and next plot shows the correlation between predicted zirconium-90 abundance. It's normalized to zirconium-90 template abundance obtained with default rates. Okay, okay, and along the x-axis we plot decimal logarithm of multiplication factor that was used, random multiplication that was used for strontium-90 and gamma ray. Indeed, you can see there is anti-correlation, negative correlation between predicted zirconium-90 abundance and actually the rate of strontium-90 and gamma. So this can be considered as the rate, because when F factor increases from this value to this to the right, this means we just increase this rate. Okay, now for other zirconium isotopes, this is zirconium-94 versus yttrium-94 and gamma, because that was revealed previously. Okay, for zirconium-94, the strongest impact is produced by yttrium-94. Okay. Okay. Okay, now next plot. Okay, this plot shows the distribution of our results of our Monte Carlo simulations for different elemental abundances. Okay, going from cobalt, remember, okay, from cobalt to osmium. Okay, so I prefer the next plot, not this one, and I will explain symbols used in this plot in the next plot, which is similar but a slightly different one. So in the next plot, we have to choose adjust so-called dilution coefficient. This is dilution coefficient gives a fraction of I-process yields predicted in the mixture with the solar composition. Okay, in the mixture with initial abundance. Okay. Okay, so this plot is similar to the previous one, but I prefer the second one, this one, because what's plotted here is actually with dilution coefficient, as I explained, taken into account. This is an analog of elemental abundance ratio with respect to iron in square brackets. It's close to what is observed in stars. But as I said, we have to adjust, again, shift along the vertical axis, because these are one-zone simulations that don't provide the right absolute abundances. They are supposed to provide correctly only the abundance distribution from one element to another element. But we have to adjust the vertical shift because absolute abundances are not predicted correctly. And this vertical shift, in this case, is adjusted by choosing this dilution coefficient value. For instance, if I choose instead of 0, 0, no, I'm not going to change it. So I have already adjusted the dilution coefficient 1000. Okay. Of course, dilution coefficient depends on the neutron density that was used in one-zone simulations, okay, and in the Monte Carlo simulations. Okay. Yeah. So now let me explain symbols here. So here, the number of Monte Carlo runs that provide given elemental abundance ratio, say this one, 2 or 2.5. So the total number out of 1,000, again, 10,000, out of 1,000 Monte Carlo runs that provide a given abundance is shown with both color. So red means more runs. Monte Carlo runs produce the same abundance. This is red. And with the size of the circle. So the larger and the redder the circle is, the larger the number of Monte Carlo runs that produce a given value of the abundance. Okay. So therefore, two properties of circles are used to reflect this data. Then black stars symbol, black star symbol, that show position of the predicted template abundance, calculated, obtained with the default rates. Okay, so stars are just default rates. And finally, black circles with error bars are observed abundances for our selected CMP star. In this case, our favorite star, CS 31/060 minus 050. And you can see that dilution coefficient here was adjusted so that, as you can see, the template abundances fit relatively well the observed abundances. Okay, and then the scalar circles show us the predicted uncertainties. So the spread of predicted abundances from Monte Carlo simulations caused by random variations of multiplication factors for unstable isotopes, 1256, because they are not known well, and as I explained to you last time, 20 Hausdorff-Feshbach calculations with 20 different input data, they produce 20 different rates, and we just use as a characteristic of uncertainty the ratio of the maximum predicted rate to the minimum predicted rate, which we call the maximum variation factors. Okay, so therefore this plot is informative. And now let's make the next plot. So this plot shows by color map the maximum variation factor for a neutron capture reaction rate for a given unstable isotope. So bluer color means lower maximum variation factor, so which means better constraint reaction rate. Redder color means maximum variation factor up to 20. And of course, as you can see that the color goes from bluish to brownish when we go from the valley, from the region adjacent to the valley of stability, from left to unstable isotopes with larger neutron numbers, as expected, because their rate become less and less certain. Okay, and the next cell, not all isotopes can be shown here in color, because here color map has maximum value of the maximum variation factor 20, but some of isotopes have larger factors, which will have here also brown color. So therefore, next cell just gives the list of isotopes with maximum variation factors that exceed 20, as you can see, 28, 39, etc. Okay, it's a pretty long list. Okay, there is now a discussion about a correct estimate of maximum variation factors, about the relations or not, but let's talk about this later. We have something to say about that as well. Okay, and almost finally here, this cell produces a list of the so-called inter-elemental correlations. So which predicted elemental abundances correlate with other predicted elemental abundances. Here again, we need to select two lists to compare. So I4 equals 7, again, includes barium and lanthanum, and I4, the second, 8 includes europium. Okay, so let's do this comparison. And this table shows correlation coefficients between predicted elemental abundances. In most cases, they're relatively small, but this is 0.36 between predicted barium and samarium. Okay, it might be significant. Okay. And here we can make a 4-panel plot showing correlation between the elemental abundances predicted in Monte Carlo runs and the reaction rate multiplication factors. Okay. So these are correlations plotted here. For instance, again, if you go, okay, here for lanthanum, I have cesium-139. It's wrong. I need barium 130. But I have barium 139. Yeah, I have barium 139 here for lanthanum as well. Okay, so I have for lanthanum, as you can see here, top right, for lanthanum, the strongest anticorrelation exists with barium 139 and gamma for lanthanum. For barium, there is some anticorrelation with cesium-137, And for europium, as you can see, there is a relatively strong correlation with variation of rate of the reaction neodymium 151 and gamma. Okay, that's it. This is the most important notebook that helps to do a detailed analysis of results of Monte Carlo calculations. So our publications that are referenced here. So results presented in those publications were, most of them were obtained with Monte Carlo simulations that I explained you how to do last time, and using this notebook for their analysis. Okay, I think that's actually it for today. This is all I wanted to tell you about today. So now, if you have done Monte Carlo simulations, you can try to do this analysis. Don't forget to use this notebook, Plot Strongson, outreach, to prepare people file with contour lines, and then plot those contour lines using this notebook, and then try to do this analysis of Monte Carlo results. I mean, you can try to use a different neutron number density. In this template notebook, as you remember, I used neutron density 3.16 10 to the 13. You can try it, for instance, 3.16 10 to the 14, another high neutron density. And of course, if you change neutron density, results will be different. Results of analysis will be different. This is caused by the fact that when you increase neutron density, the I process goes further away from the value of stability to the right, and more unstable isotopes get involved in the I process, and so therefore, of course, results of analysis will be different. Okay, that's it for today. If you have any questions, ask them.
Thank you. It was very clear what you said. So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Look, guys, I mean, this in the fall now, I teach you, okay, I teach you to these methods because later, starting in January, we have several actually research projects in mind with these tools. And if you are interested, you are welcome to join those research projects, okay? So right now, you can just try to play with these tools to do some calculations and to use these notebooks to try to make some plots. And again, let me just tell you again that please don't hesitate. If you have any questions, send me email, ask me the questions, okay? And I also take advantage of the opportunity, okay, to teach you. Thank you that you're present, because I do video recording of these classes, because these video recordings can later be used by you just to remind how to use this method, and by other students, okay? So if you don't have any further questions, that's it. We can stop here. Okay, so I'm going to stop recording then.